Hello everybody and welcome to this, my first video on this very well worn but still kind of strikingly handsome Kodak Brownie Junior 616. One of the cameras that are I'm going to turn this sideways so you can see the whole thing, but one of these cameras that are generally referred to as the Art Deco cameras because they have this sort of Art Deco-y design on the front of them. The Kodak Brownie Junior 616 is a box camera, meaning it's shaped like a box. That's where they get their name from. It has no light meter, a simple rotary shutter that when you trigger the shutter fires like that. It has shutter speeds of bulb and something that is approximately 1/50th of a second. So if I pull this little switch out here, actually it's technically time, not bulb, because I flip the switch down, the shutter will stay open until I flip the switch back up. And the shutter flips each time I move the switch. So if I start with the switch in a different spot and now pull this up, time still works. Okay, so this starts the time count, and pushing it in goes back to instant of approximately 1/50th of a second. The flash sync speed for this is your time setting because there's no flash trigger on the camera. If you're going to use a flash, you have to go into time, open up the shutter, manually trigger a flash, and that's how you use the flash with this camera. So I also want to make a special note here. I'd like to thank eBay seller Glowing Glass. He sent me the 616 to 120 adapters for this camera that are what I use to run 120 roll film through this camera, so you can see a few sample photos taken with this actual camera. And so he made those. They work out really well. And if you're looking for adapters for this, check out his eBay listing. I did buy those adapters, and he sent them up to me when I bought them. So he also makes adapters for a wide range of other box cameras and spools and things like that. So the Kodak Brownie 616 Junior was aimed at kids and very casual photographers on a budget who wanted to make vacation postcards. This was considered a postcard format. Literally what you would do is you would take a photo with this. You'd take it to a lab. They would contact print it onto a postcard photo paper, and then the photo that you took could be used to send a postcard to people you knew back home. Kind of neat. I've actually done that. I've taken photos, darkroom printed them myself onto postcard paper, which at least a handful of years ago was still made, and sent those to people, and it's a lot of fun to do that. So 616 film is just a slimmer spool version of 116 film. Same type of film, same slightly slimmer paper backing on it. It's the exact same concept as 620 film is slightly slimmer than 120 film, but they both use the same film material in those spools. This was made by Kodak in New York from 1934 until 1942. So now, if you have your Kodak Brownie 616, so Kodak Brownie Junior 616, we're going to go over all of the features and functions on it. And we're going to start on the top here. This is your viewfinder, so that when you take a photo, you'll look through this. Can you see anything? No, that's really pretty filthy. And that might actually, oh yeah, that one's missing a mirror. That's why there's no mirror inside that one. So at any rate, if yours has a mirror, you would look through the top there and you'd be able to see kind of what you're going to take a photo of. And this is for portrait orientation images. This is where the handle would have gone, and this front thing right here is also a release to take apart the camera. We'll see that in a minute. This is your aperture selection lever, which you can use to pull up to select a different aperture for your photos. You can see in there's a small aperture, and if I slide this down, you get a slightly larger aperture. Those are your two selections for exposure control. On the back of the camera, you have the red window for counting your frames when you use this camera. If you are going to use 120 film in here with the 616 adapters, there's going to be a gap around the film. You're going to have to tape this off in order to prevent light from fogging and ruining your film when you use it, just as a heads up. And if you do decide to do that, the way that I was using this is I was turning this 4.5 turns to advance it each frame. That kind of worked. Using adapters with 120 film on box cameras for different formats is always kind of a challenging proposition. On this side, we have a whole lot of nothing. On this side, we have the landscape window. Let me turn it this way and you might be able to see a studio light shine through there. There you go. And you can kind of see approximately what that's going to look like when you frame up your scene. Here's your film advance knob. The bottom of the camera has a whole lot of nothing. And the front of the camera, as we've seen a little bit throughout this video, has the 2 windows for your portrait and landscape orientation framing, your lens right here, your time control switch here, and your shutter switch right here. We're going to open up the camera right now, which we do by lifting this knob and pulling. Do we have to lift this? Yeah, we have to pull out the film advance knob as well, and lift this knob, and then the camera just slides apart like this. The camera should just slide apart. There we go. And now you can see what was in there was all of the 616 to 120 adapters that I have. Basically, the way that this works is you take a roll of 120 film, you slide an adapter into each side, and now this is ready to go into a 616 camera. And then down at the bottom, I have a 120 take-up spool with a 616 adapters in it. There you go. And so inside we have a reminder of what type of film to use. This is where your new roll of film is going to go when you load it. Have a couple of rollers to help it move through the camera smoothly. Another roller, your take-up spool. Nothing on this side. And then here is the window for your negative, and you can see the size of the negative here. If we take the 120 paper, you can see why I said to cover up the red window. There is a little bit of a gap around the 120 paper. Not much, but a little bit. If you are not going to have the red window covered, you will get some fogging as the light sneaks past your 120 paper into your film. So to load film, what you're going to do is you're going to either have some 616 paper that you've respooled 120 film onto, which is a fine way to do this, and a couple of 616 spools, or your 120 spool with 616 adapters. And this just is going to go right in here like that. And then you pull out a leader, pull it all the way down here, and feed it into the take-up spool like this. Okay. And this should, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the take-up spool because there's no way to effectively crank it until the box is put back together. Manually feed a little bit of the film onto the take-up spool and push it into position. You want to make sure that your take-up spool here is roughly centered, because this is where your film advance knob is going to engage. Put the camera back together. This will click into place when it's lined up. And then we can push this into place and turn it a little bit as we're doing so, and that will help it engage with the take-up spool. And now we just advance. Now, with 120's paper, you might or might not have any numbers in here, but they're definitely not going to be accurate. So, oops, that didn't sound good. One of the nice things about using this 116 paper in this and respooling using 116 spools is that you get accurate numbering. And another thing to bear in mind when you're using 3D printed adapters for these is to advance the film gently and slowly, because you don't want to have the 3D printed adapter get stripped by being overly aggressive, which you might be hearing sounds like I'm at risk of doing with this one. So you can see that there are some marks coming in through the red window here. And basically what I did with mine when I ran a roll of 120 through this was I did let myself see the one here, and then I covered this up with some tinfoil. I did this inside to minimize light fogging. And then I just, as I advanced, went about 4.5 turns per frame, and I got a handful of frames out of the roll of 120. It wasn't perfect, but it did give me some photos. So after you've gone through your entire roll of film and you've advanced it all the way onto this roll, then what you're going to do is lift up that knob and pull out your film rewind again. There we go. And now we can disassemble the camera. And this will have been taken up completely, of course, but and will have been fully advanced onto this take-up spool. But I'm not going to do that because I really don't want to have to deal with fully rewinding this. One other problem with using 120 paper, as you can see, is the damage that this just did to my 120 backing paper. This was not like this morning, and that's because it wasn't lined up properly. And if you can imagine that your 120 paper or film rather, is almost as wide as this paper, if you had been doing this and had film on here, it would absolutely have torn up the side of your film and risked damaging your camera or your adapters. So I do recommend sticking with 116 backing paper if you can get it, and then attaching 120 film to that 116 backing paper. It's a bit fiddly, but your results will be a bit better. Okay, some notes here on using 120 film for your 616 camera. 616 is the image on it is 108 millimeters long, so the numbers on the 616 paper are spaced 108-ish millimeters apart. Maybe, yeah, actually that should be about right. The numbers that you saw in the red window on this camera from 120 paper are spaced 90 millimeters apart. So if you just used those numbers, you would have 30 millimeters of overlap on every single image. The results really would not be usable. So basically what you want to make sure that is that actually you'd have 20 millimeters of overlap on each side of the negative. So basically what you want to do is you can kind of use that number as a gauge for how much to advance past where you are, but it's kind of hard to gauge when you've turned 108 millimeters in blank space on the back of a 120 paper. So at any rate, because 616 film was discontinued in 1984, it is a little bit hard to find the spools and the paper for it, but if you can, and you can respool some 120 and just use 1 or 2 rolls at a time, you'll have a much better experience than using 120 paper running through this. But if you can't get those spools, get those glowing glass adapters because they are nice and they have held up for this, and use the 120 paper and just make sure that it's aligned very well so you don't tear up the side of it as it advances. So after having talked about how film is loaded and moves through the camera, let's talk a little bit about how to actually take a picture with this camera. One thing I could not find is what the actual aperture settings were for this camera. So basically what we have, we'll open it up here. We have big, what we're going to call big, and small, or what we're going to call overcast day and sunny day, or more likely sunny day and snowy day. At any rate, that's your only exposure control in terms of having your instant shutter speed, is whether you have a larger aperture or a smaller, and then you basically just have to throw your faith onto the film's tolerance to have a good result. To that end, do use black and white film. It's much more tolerant of abuse. So to take a picture, you're going to select your aperture, and then for instant, all you have to do is flip this switch just like that. Sight up your image in one of the windows and flick the shutter speed. If you want to do a very long exposure, like a waterfall at dusk, you can pull out the time lever, open up your time exposure, and just let this go for a few seconds or a few minutes, however long you need to, and then you can turn off time by either flipping your shutter lever back in the opposite direction or pushing the time lever in. Both of those turn off the time exposure. Okay, so and then after you take your photo, just remember to advance to the next frame, whether you're using 116 paper to count or you're kind of guessing with 120 paper. Either one will work, hopefully. So that's great, but what about double exposures? Well, because the shutter mechanism and the film advance are not connected, this is a double exposure machine. All you have to do for a double exposure is that. Take your first photo, figure out what you want for your second, and take it. It's super simple to do multiple exposures with a box camera. There are some things that I would say not to do with this camera. A big one is remember that it's old and it's fragile. I mean, it's kind of got like a cardstock box to it. Some of the internal components were in the mechanism, it's metal and cardstock. This is metal, and there are some metal components inside. They will rust, so don't get your camera wet. The cardstock will warp, the metal will rust, the shutter will probably seize up. And also just kind of have your expectations set for this, which is that you're going to get soft photos by today's standards. The lenses on these cameras are not super high quality. These were meant for kids and Boy Scouts earning their photography merit badge or taking vacation photos, things like that. Also, being old and being budget cameras, they do tend to have some issues you might need to fix. Dirty viewfinders are a big one. Dirty viewing lenses, and of course this one, the mirror over here, you might have seen it flopping around, is detached. So you can disassemble this camera. There are screws on the front here, and then you can kind of start taking things apart. It's very simple to take it apart and put it back together. So you can clean the mirrors. Be very careful with that. Only use distilled water. They are surface coated silver. It will come right off if you use anything like rubbing alcohol or even lens cleaning tissue. Distilled water and gentle pressure only. And then you could also glue the mirror back on if yours falls off, which seems to be a fairly common issue with these. So these box cameras in general are tons of fun, enjoyable to use. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next Camera Manuals video.